أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وبارك وسلم. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another session of video lectures for the subject of business finance. In our today's lecture, we'll have discussion on the stock exchange. This is basically our second lecture of chapter number 4, and in today's lecture there will be discussion on stock exchange from different perspective. First, we'll have discussion on what stock exchange is. We'll have discussion on what stock exchange is. We'll have the discussion on the definition, and there will be terminologies within the definition that we will further elaborate in our discussion. Then we will have discussion on how an individual, how an investor can trade or can buy or sell the securities on the stock exchange. And we will have also discussion on what type of dealers are available on the stock exchange to help the investors in giving them advices and also assisting them with the purchase or sales of their desired financial security. So that's going to be our discussion. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, now let's talk about the stock exchange first. Stock exchange. What is stock exchange? Stock exchange is a marketplace, a market or a place where trading of listed shares or securities is done in terms of sale or purchase. Okay, so here are a few terminologies that we want to discuss. The first one is market. We know that market is a place where there is buyer and seller, there is a product, and there is a price. So wherever these three elements get together, that becomes a market. Now the name of the market depends upon the product of that market. So in terms of stock exchange, we say stock exchange is a market. Yes, because there is a buyer and seller. Buyer and seller. Buyer is someone who has excess money and want to invest, and seller is someone who is in need of money and he is doing what? Financing. So basically the seller is doing financing and buyer is doing investing on this market. So what is the product of this market? The product of this market is financial security, and that could be any financial security we discussed in our yesterday's class. And price is the face value of that security, or also it can be the face value or it can be the market value, right? That is basically the price. So stock exchange is a market, right? Usually stock exchange are organized markets, and where trading of listed shares or securities is done. What does trading mean? Trading in simple words means buying and selling, right? Buying and selling is called trading. Okay, next we have listed shares or listed securities. What is meant by listed shares or listed securities? Listed shares or listed securities are those financial securities or shares, right, of those companies which are registered where? In the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? There is a commission, there is authority, there is a regulatory authority which is called Security and Exchange Commission. What do we call that? We call that Security and Exchange Commission. Security and Exchange Commission. That is basically the regulatory authority of the stock exchange. Every stock exchange operating in a country that is regulated by the Security and Exchange Commission of that country. So a Security and Exchange Commission is a regulatory authority. Usually this if any company wants to issue the shares, so they register themselves in the Security and Exchange Commission. So only and only those companies' financial assets, or we can say financial securities, are allowed to be traded on the stock exchange, which is registered in the Security and Exchange Commission. For example, there is a company ABC. If this company is in need of money or in need of financing, and they want to do financing, they want to acquire funds through issuing the stocks, first they will do is they apply to Security and Exchange Commission, right? They put up an application, they put the application to the Security and Exchange Commission. The Security and Exchange Commission is the regulatory authority. They review the application and then they allow that company to do financing by issuing the shares. Okay, so any company which gets registered in the Security and Exchange Commission and are allowed to issue shares, that company's shares are called listed shares or listed securities. So on daily basis, Security and Exchange Commission issues a 100 index. 100 index means a list of top 100 companies whose securities, whose financial assets, or we can say whose shares should be traded on the stock exchange. So based on that index, the securities or financial securities or shares are traded on the stock exchange. That list issued by the Security and Exchange Commission on daily basis. We call that list 100 index. So any company which is in that 100 index list or listed in that 100 index, that company is called listed company, and the shares or the stocks or securities of that company are called listed shares. So a market where securities, or we can say shares are issued or traded, that market is called stock exchange, right? Okay, so I hope it's clear to you now that what is meant by the listed shares or listed companies. Basically, listed shares or listed securities are the securities or the shares of the companies which are included in the 100 index by the Security and Exchange Commission. And I explained the whole story of how the Security and Exchange Commission does this listing, and how they list the companies, how they do this listing, and how they allow the companies to do financing through issuance of new shares. Okay, so the other definition here is the stock exchange is an organization. It's basically an organization that provides marketplace, right? It's a market, it's a organized organization organized by the Security and Exchange Commission. It's a marketplace for either physical or virtual. Two types of trading, buying and selling of the listed shares or securities takes place on the stock exchange. Number one is physical, number two is virtual. Physical means that the investors go there physically and they purchase different security, they invest in different shares of different companies. Virtual means it's electronic, it takes place online, right? With the help of computers, with the help of telephones, with the help of internet. So both types of trading takes place on the stock exchange, which is an organization, right? An organization which provides a marketplace for physical or virtual trading of shares, bonds, and other financial products. It's not only the shares which are traded on the financial on the stock exchange. We earlier said there are listed securities. Securities could be shares, they could be bonds, they could be other financial products where investors may buy and sell shares of a wide range of companies. I said there are a lot of companies whose shares are bought and sold by the investors within the stock exchange. So an investor has the option to choose from the 100 index companies or any other company which is below the 100 index. In other definition, it says it's an association or organization or individual. Individual because it's just like a entity which is called legal entity, right? That's why we call it individual. It's a legal entity. It's an organization whose job is doing business and providing marketplace, right, where companies come and they do financing and investors come, they buy and sell, they capitalize on the shares, and they earn two types of income. One is through the dividends and the second is through the capital gain. Capital gain is the positive change in the market price of a share that we have purchased. For example, if we purchase a share by 10 Afghani and the share price increases by 2 Afghani and we sell them by 12 Afghani, the difference between the buy price and the sell price is basically the capital gain. If this capital gain is a negative figure, we call that capital loss. If we have a positive figure, it's a capital gain. So we receive two types of income if we invest on the stock exchange. One is from the company at the year end as a dividend. The second one is the capital gain, which we do by selling and buying again and again the shares of different companies. Okay, so an association or individual organization which is established for the purpose of assisting, regulating and controlling businesses in buying and selling and dealing in securities. So there are 5 functions of the stock exchange. Function number 1 is regulation, right? Regulation of what? Trading of financial securities. That's number 1 function, right? Number 2 function of the stock exchange is controlling what? Controlling the trading of financial securities. The third function is dealing in financial securities. The fourth function is assisting the trading in financial securities. Controlling the trade, regulating the trading in financial securities, regulation of trading in financial securities. Number 2, controlling of the trading in financial securities. Number 3, dealing of the trading in financial securities. Number 4, assisting the trading of financial securities. And number 5 is buying and selling, right? Providing a marketplace for buying and selling of the financial securities. So these are 5 functions of the stock exchange. So let's repeat once again. Stock exchange is an organization which has these 5 functions. Number 1, regulation of trading in financial securities. Number 2, controlling of trading in financial securities. Number 3, dealing of trading in financial securities. Number 4, assisting the trading in financial securities. Number 5, buying and selling of the financial securities, providing a marketplace. Providing what? Providing a marketplace for buying and selling of the financial securities. So these are basically 5 functions of the stock exchange. Basically, stock exchange is what? It's an organization. We studied. It's an association whose main purpose is these five, right? And every stock exchange is operated under the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, Security and Exchange Commission. That is basically the regulatory authority for the stock exchange. Okay, now let's go ahead and study further about the stock exchange. Okay, there are two types of people working on the stock exchange, right? Stock exchange has two type of dealers. Number one is broker, number two is jobber. Both of them they are called the dealers. They are the dealers on the stock exchange. They are there on the stock exchange to assist with people, assist the investors, the investors and financiers, means buyer and sellers. So we have two types of dealers. Number one is jobber and number two is broker. So let's talk about the broker first. Broker is one who acts as an intermediary, as a middleman on behalf of others. A person who works or who acts in the transactions and buying and selling of the financial securities on the stock exchange. This person acts as an intermediary, as a middleman. His transaction is on behalf of others. That other could be investor, that other person could be a financer. A broker in the stock exchange is a commission agent. His job is to do commission agent, and his transacts business in securities on behalf of non-members, right? The people who are not the members of the stock exchange, this broker works as a commission agent to those people who are not the members of the stock exchange, but they want to do trading on the stock exchange. So this guy, broker, helps them do transactions on their behalf, right? Okay, remember previously we discussed that stock exchange can be physical, it can be virtual. So similarly, the people who are the member of the stock exchange, they can do physical trading, right? But the people who are not the members of the stock exchange, they cannot do physical trading, they can do virtual trading. They will do virtual trading with the help of the brokers. Brokers are working within the stock exchange. They help the non-members to do trading on the stock exchange, and from each transaction they charge a certain commission. So they are basically commission agents. They are intermediaries. They are middlemen, right? Next is jobber. Jobbers, they are also they are basically also working within the stock exchange, but they are the people who does not deal with the general public. They have no direct dealing with the general public. They are basically the members of the stock exchange. They do not deal with the other with the people who are not the members of the stock exchange. They do not deal with the general public. Who can deal with the general public? Only brokers can deal with the general public. So brokers has a contact with the general public. So basically broker is a middleman, right? So jobbers contacts the brokers and broker contact the other people. So basically broker is intermediary between the general public who are not the member and between the jobbers, right? So we studied that jobbers are those people, those members which are not cannot deal with the public directly. He deals with brokers who are engaged with the investors. Thus the securities is bought by the jobber from the members and sells to members who are operating on the stock exchange as a broker. So we said that both of them are like broker are also members of the stock exchange, jobbers are also the member of the stock exchange, but brokers, they work for the people. They do not have money to invest in the different securities of stock exchange. They work as an intermediary. They work on behalf of the non-member people, but jobbers are members, right? They work on the stock exchange, right? And they deal within themselves. One jobber deals with the other jobber, or if there is a need of jobber dealing with the general public, the jobber will do that through the broker. Or if a general public non-member want to deal with the jobber or within the members of the stock exchange, there is a middleman, that is broker. With the help of broker, they will purchase from the stock exchange. For example, I want to purchase the stocks of the Facebook and the Apple and the Gmail and the Twitter, right? For different stocks I want to buy or shares I want to buy. So how will I do that? There are jobbers who are having the stocks of these different companies. I cannot contact them directly, right? I cannot contact them directly. So what will I do? I will place order with the brokers. I will inform the brokers that I want to invest on the stock exchange, and I want to buy the shares of Facebook, the Twitter, the Apple, and the Gmail. These 4 companies shares I want to buy. Broker on behalf of me will place the order on the stock exchange, right? And that order will be seen by the jobbers. Any jobber who has the shares of this company, this company, and this company, and this company, and is willing to sell on a certain price, the price that I have specified. For example, I say that I will buy the shares of this company if someone is willing to sell on, say, $10 per share, and I want to invest, for example, $10,000, and I divide them equally. Like I say 205,000 on each. So broker will place order on my behalf on the stock exchange, saying that we want to buy the stocks of Facebook, each stock worth of $10. The total investment is $2,500. Similarly for Twitter, for Apple, and for Gmail. So this order will be placed by the broker on my behalf on the stock exchange. So any jobber having stocks as per my order will contact the jobber, and the jobber will contact me, right? And then the transaction will take place between the jobber and me with the help of broker. I will have no contact with the jobber, but my broker will have a contact with the jobber. Similarly, if after a certain time I see that the prices have gone up by $1 for each of the stock that I have purchased, now I want to sell, I will inform my broker that I want to sell, for example, 500 shares, for example, of Facebook, Twitter, Apple, and Gmail. Each company's number of shares will be specified, the price will be specified, and the order will be placed on my behalf by the broker on the stock exchange. Then the jobbers will see the order, and if they are willing to buy, they will contact the broker, and the broker will contact me, and he will sell them on my behalf, and then there will be settlement, and the money will come to my account. That is how the jobbers and brokers and the general public do trading on the stock exchange, right? Okay, and let's talk about the difference between the jobber and broker. What is the difference? There are 4 differences between the jobber and broker. Number 1, jobber is an independent dealer, right? Jobber is what? Jobber is an independent dealer. in securities, purchasing or selling securities on his own account. Jobber is doing trading on the financial on the stock market. He is a member and he is doing trading for himself. The profit and loss is for him, right? While broker deals with the jobber on behalf of his clients, means that a broker has clients because he's a commission agent, he's a middleman. His transactions, his dealing is not for himself. He has no profit and loss from the dealing in security. He just only earns what? Commission, and that is his return, that is his income on doing the business on the stock exchange. In other words, a broker is a middleman between a jobber and his client. That is first difference. Number two, jobber deals only with the broker, does not deal with the general public. And broker is an agent, he's merely an agent, right? He does not buy or sell securities for himself, but he buys them on behalf of his clients. The third is jobber earns profit from his operations. Operations is buying and selling activities. But broker gets commission, right? Commission from his clients for his dealings on behalf of his clients. Each jobber specializes in certain group of securities, but a broker deals in all type of security. For example, every jobber does not buy the securities of every company. They specialize in certain sector in the companies from a certain sector. But a jobber is someone who can deal with any kind of security because he's not dealing for himself, but he's dealing on the stock exchange on behalf of clients. So he's willing to do dealing in any kind of security for any security for which he receives an order to buy or an order to sell from his clients. So that is basically the main difference between the jobber and broker, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and see the next one. How to deal in stock exchange. As earlier with an example, I explained how we can deal on the stock exchange. Now let's see how we can deal on the stock exchange. Basically, it's a 5-step process. Dealing on the stock exchange is a 5-step process, which means that each and every transaction, each and every dealing, each and every trading, or each and every buy and sell which takes place on this stock exchange goes through these 5 steps, right? Step number 1 is choose a broker. The investor finds the broker in the stock exchange who agrees to trade in stocks on his behalf and opens an account for him in his records. So for example, I am non-member. I want to deal or do trading on a stock exchange. For example, say Karachi Stock Exchange, right? Karachi Stock Exchange. I want to do trading on Karachi Stock Exchange. First, I will do what? I will go to their website and I will find a broker. I will contact the broker and I will choose him. I will make an agreement with him. After that, I will place an order to the broker. When investor wants to buy or sell stocks, he informs his broker. Then the broker places orders for a specific number of shares in the market. Market means a stock exchange. Because the broker is registered to deal in the stock exchange, he has access to that the system of the stock exchange. So he places an online order for selling or purchasing of the specific number of stocks for a specific number of price and also amount. If the investor needs guidance, he guides him. Also, if there is advice or guidance required to an investor, a broker gives him advice as well. So the broker charges commission for the provision of advice and also for dealing on behalf of the customer. Third step, make the contract. For example, we have placed an order to sell a specific number of shares in the stock exchange. The broker has placed the order. Now there is a buyer. What will happen? Broker will make a contract. After placing the order, broker makes a contract for buying or selling of the shares for his client with the person who's interested in buying or selling the specific number of shares which client wants to share, wants to sell or purchase. So that other person can be a jobber, or the other person can be in any other non-member, any other individual who want to buy something that the client want to sell, right? Then what will happen? Share positioning. After the transaction is done, after there is a deal between the client and the person who wants to buy, there is share positioning. The broker make a record for his client which contains. So previously we said that broker opens an account for him in his records. So now after placing order, after dealing, he has to make some adjustments to his record. For example, his record contains name of client, total quantity of shares, total amount, total purchases, right? These four. For example, name of client is Ahmad, right? So Ahmad previously purchased, suppose 100 shares, right? 1,000 shares, and each share has a price of $10, which becomes $10,000 in his account. For example, he purchased 20 new shares. So what will happen? Or sells 20 shares, he will record his purchase or sales in his record. After that, he will do settlement. After the record is made, the money can be paid in cash within 24 hours, or it will be paid after a specific period of days. Now, once the settlement has been made, for example, we have sold our 20 shares. Against this 20 share, if we have sold each share by $15, so 20 multiplied by 15, this money should come to our account. And as per the contract that we have made here, that after how many number of hours or number of days you are going to receive the payment, whether this payment will be cash or whether this payment will be to account, that will take place accordingly. And once the payment is transferred to the account, the broker does a settlement to his record, means he officially records whether the cash has come into his account or cash has gone out to his account. He does entry, he updates his record after each and every transaction that he does on behalf of his client, right? That's how someone can trade on the stock exchange. Okay. Inshallah, next time we will talk about the financial instrument. That's our next lecture, and this is enough for today. In our today's lecture, we talked about how we can deal in a stock exchange, and we studied what is the difference between the jobber and broker, and what is the job of the broker, and what is the job of the jobber. And also we had discussion on the stock exchange, how it operates. We discussed the Security and Exchange Commission. We discussed the listed shares and listed companies, 100 index. We discussed how physical and virtual trading takes place, what are financial securities that are traded on the stock exchange, which are shares, bonds, and other financial securities. And the buyer and seller could be investor or financer. All that discussion. We also discussed the functions of the stock exchange, which were 5 functions that we discussed earlier, and also how broker is different than jobber, and also these 5 steps. Hope this lecture is clear to you. Please, if you have any questions, please come back to me with your questions. I'm more than happy to help you to sort out the doubts and any clarity you want. Right? Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay home. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.